Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. Today we're here looking at Conan the Barbarian number 140, but before we do that, we've got World Fantasy Tarot, the Hydra. This is a pretty sick card. I like it, and it's pretty cool. This is a good deck. Alright, so let's get on to the comic. Conan 140, you can see the cover. Now, I accidentally read 139 again this morning, and I read all the way through it and wasn't sure if I'd read it or not. There's one scene that I totally remembered, and it's a trashed version of it too. Look at how beaten up this version of 139 is. This comic has seen some damage. It's got Wolverine here at the back, and here was the scene I remembered. This is Val Merrick drawing, and this is what really caught my eye. Conan and this, so there's this Gorgon, right? But this scene right here, where they have to climb out and climb over the snake's body, I didn't remember any of the rest of, I remembered this a little bit, but I really didn't remember any of the rest of this issue, which is either, God, bad memory or a bad issue. I don't know. This one's a little bit better. Conan the Barbarian, 140. John Buscema, again, is back for Spider Isle. And we get 4 tropes in Conan comics. The thrown sword, he goes to jail, he gets a girlfriend, and we get a flashback. The flashback is comics in general. It's exposition. A flashback is exposition without extra filming, because you can do a flashback without having, you don't have to set up actors. You know what I mean? And if they did do that, they would probably have done it. See, now here's the thing with this issue. Why not put it in chronological order? Let's see. So here we have this guy, right? Oh, what? Hold on. So see his right hand, he's holding this, but his left hand is a hook. They're dragging Conan up onto this boat. It's not a very big boat. It's really kind of like this is a really small boat. So it's a magical boat. They're in Arabia somewhere. This guy's a douchebag. He's Arabian. Conan has been shanghaied onto this ship, right? So they're trying to figure out what to do with him. This guy wants to kill him for some reason. That's not really clear. They decide to put him in manacles and chains, and they throw him in the hold, the ship's hold. Here he is. He wakes up, throws the rat off of him. This guy is the prison guard, the equivalent of. He comes in to teach Conan some manners. We don't know what's happened. The last one, 139, ended a 3-part story with a Gorgon. That one, Ishidi was her name. So this guy comes in to threaten Conan. What does he do? Oh, he shoulders him. He blasts him once. He gives him a good punch. Conan throws him over his back. And escapes the hold. Comes up out onto the deck. Here's the captain. He's got some weird name, Devindra or something like that. Let me look it up. So this captain with the hook is Davalti. And they were, in the first couple pages, they were talking about executing Conan. They're talking about keel hauling him. But Davalti said he didn't want to do that because his intestines would be lost to the water, and he wants to disembowel him himself. Conan has done something to these guys. He's offended them in some way. So here they are talking about how they're going to kill him, and Conan just attacks. He says, "I've always been a fan of strangulation." Here we see the big war club comes down on the back of his head 6 or 7 times before they knock him out. Lash him to the mast, splash water in his face, and start talking smack. Conan spits in the guy's face. This is a pretty simple comic. There's not a lot to it. He's been kidnapped by these guys, and they're going to kill him. They want to, anyhow. Here the guy shows Conan the hook that he has for a hand and smacks him in the shoulder, in the neck. If you get someone in the back of that head with a hook, they're dead. The massive nerves at the back of your neck. Conan would be dead. He might have gotten him in the shoulder, but that's not really what it looks like. Here he says he's going to rip all the muscles off his body with the hook. Everyone's watching. Here the first mate stops. He says he's going to take Conan's eye. The first mate grabs his hand. The first mate is named Frank with an H, F-H-R-A-N-K. Why not P-H-R-A-N-K? So he tells him, Frank tells Devalte that Conan would be better off served strapped to an oar, chained to an oar. They'd get where they're going twice as fast. John Buscema's Conan here looks not more mature, but it's almost like wherever John Buscema went between this issue and the last Conan issues, he either has a lot more time on his hands to do this, because Conan looks much more, these shots, this is a much more, not mature, it's not a mature Conan, but the art has matured somehow. John Buscema's style, it may be an inker. I suppose we should do that. Look and see who's who. John Buscema, George Russos on colors. I think it's the fact that John Buscema is doing his own pencils and inks. That's why it's so much better. The stuff where he has someone else ink him is not as good. So here's Conan getting chained to an oar, while Devalte sits and schemes. Now, okay, I had mentioned that this ship is not that big. Look at how low the ceiling is. He can barely even raise his head up seated on this chair. That sticks with the size of the ship. I noticed that before, but this ship is relatively small. So that's good. Here he's thinking about the previous night's events. This is everything that went wrong. This is why Devalte hates Conan. He was sitting macking on this girl, not doing a very good job of it. She tries to steal his cash. He threatens her life. Conan tells him to lay off, and he's not going to hurt her because Conan has plans for that girl. And this guy can, get lost. Of course, being the captain of a ship, he's not going to take that from Conan. So Conan breaks his hook and puts him on his ass. This is a simple comic. I don't think John Buscema needed a word from anyone about this story, and it's not Roy Thomas either. It's Bruce Jones writing this one. I think I called him Bob Jones yesterday, but his name's Bruce Jones. Look at this Conan. This art. John Buscema has leveled up in his art here. The compositions are better. This is not. It's only a little bit better, but it's better. It's better. It is. These shots are more than Buscema's early Conan. I love this. This is beautiful. They're going up a river. They're not out on the ocean. And so basically what happens is Frank drugs Conan, and that's how they kidnap him onto the boat. They Shanghai him. The guard decides he wants to mess with Conan some more. So Conan grabs his whip and breaks his neck. And when the other crew find this guy, no one says anything about it being Conan. Conan says it must have been the food. And again, this image of Conan's face, this is leveled up Buscema. It absolutely is. This is not rushed. He is taking his time. Here is Devalte with this current mistress who is not happy to be there. The first mate tells him that we need a break, we need some food, we need supplies. It's not Frank, but one of the other crewmen tells the captain that they're dangerously low on provisions and they need to, go to shore, get what they can. So they do. They take a boat for the girl, but here Devalte is right ahead of them. They're all following one another. They're all chained to one another by the neck, which is never fun if you're a slave. As they head inland, they find this guy. Now, supposedly that's his skin, but there's also some other growth over him, and the crew are all very scared, but none of them identify the growth for what it is. If you guys remember, the title of this one is Spider Isle. So as this guy goes off, he gets attacked by a spider. This guy comes running back. He sees what's happening. He's terrified. He goes running right past everyone as they explore inland. Now they have to cross this big log. So I just realized this. This guy who gets captured here is getting captured on the first side of the log. The other dude runs off back to the ship, presumably. Then we cross a chasm on a fallen tree where some of the slaves slip and their necks break. Conan holds them up. And as they get them back up, their necks are all broken. And the first mate, Frank, gives Conan the key, tells him to uncuff himself. And then they have to dump those guys because can't take them with you. Conan and Frank have a moment with an eagle in the background, so there's no dead space. They continue down the dry riverbed. Now, the other riverbed was wet, so why is this one dry? I don't know. Maybe it's higher land. Here is where they start to realize what they're up against, and this is their friend who was taken on the other side of the chasm. And of course, this is our page turn. Turn around, look out, behind you. And then we get the title page. The Web Titans, next issue. Spiders, spiders everywhere. Giant spiders, Shelob. What will our heroes do? This is a good comic. It's functional. Now, the fact that this only took them a month, I can only sit in utter awe and fascination of, because I don't know the shortcuts. And it's frustrating. I know the shortcuts in writing. I don't know them in art. And I don't know that I have enough time in my life remaining to learn them sufficiently. But I will try. This is what I want to do. This and riding skateboards. So, all right. Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. I am coming out here every day to talk to you guys and tell you about these stories because I am super proud of them. I'm still working on them and hoping to find common ground with people who like good comics. Although, what's been going on the last few days online is pretty intense. Did I already put Hydra away? Yeah, I already put Hydra away. Here's our comic, Ashley Fox Ninja Babysitter, Last Valkyrie. This is out here in the description. It's black and white. We have some colored panels. I have not been working on it lately. I am working on my third novel. And since I'm not crowdfunding this, I don't feel obligated to kill myself on it all day, every day. Although we are getting stuff done, especially for the new one. Jay's been drawing again, but he's, I can't pay him. So this is a vanity project, labor of love. And what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about, God, how do I phrase this? Let me think about it for a minute. In this one, Sebastian, this is the 8 of spades maybe? I don't know, I can't see that. Plus it's faded at the bottom. It's really bad design. This one says Sebastian is stuck, he doesn't say horns of a dilemma, but he is stuck on the horns of a dilemma. He has to decide whether to protect his family or continue to serve his country. He's in some sort of military government role. It doesn't say military. He could just be some civil servant. But he says, the question is, at what point do you give up on your country in order to protect your family? Is essentially the question. And I'm going to rephrase that a little bit. There's a lot of different kinds of institutional loyalty. This is a question of loyalty to an institution or loyalty to individuals. Now, obviously, your family is not an institution, but they're more than individuals. It is kind of an institution. It's certainly the way people think about it. It would be a lot harder to say, I'm quitting for my friends, for acquaintances or something like that. It doesn't really make sense. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is where this crosses over with homemade institutions. I've noticed, and I'm just going to come right out and say it, I don't get many views on these. With the Conan ones, I get a few more. But I've got at least one hate watcher who's downvoting my videos, which is kind of cool because the only thing that person could be complaining about is the fact that I advocate for white advocacy, is the fact that I don't think whites should be bitches to everybody else. And that's the society we have right now. And that's why people are making their own institutions. This is something that people in Western civilization do, and they've noticed it from summer camps with 11 and 12-year-olds. Now, this might be because 11 and 12-year-olds grow up in a country with sports teams and logos and all that sort of stuff. But in summer camp, when you have two groups of kids, you have one group of kids by themselves, they will not identify as a group. They're just kids. But so the summer camp had limited resources. At first, the first 2 weeks, full resources. The kids thought they were the only kids at the camp. And then after like a week or two, they were butting up against other camp groups for resources. Like they would have both groups show up at the soccer field the same day instead of one of them going swimming and one of them playing soccer, which is the way they had been doing it. And almost immediately, what they noted was the groups adopted logos and names and identified themselves as rivals or enemies of the other group who are competitors for their resources. So this is something that arises in our culture, and you can't get away from it because we've got thousands of years of it now. We've had fraternal organizations forever. And that's, that's what we're talking about. Comicsgate is a fraternal organization. At one point, it would have been like the Order of the Condor or whatever. And there was a real Order of the Condor. And I am using a lot of these medieval orders as vampire or demon hunting orders in my stories. And what's going on in Comicsgate is a little similar. Obviously, we don't have demons or vampires. But all these little institutions, they call them silos now because they're so insular. They have crack-up events where certain members will go to war with other members, infighting, right? I saw this in a lot of groups. I've seen this in a lot of groups that have imploded over the past however many years. And it's a difficult process. It's a refining process. It's bringing in as many people as you can and then elevating the best. And when that elevation process happens, other players get weeded out, either intentionally or unintentionally. And that makes for hurt feelings. The same thing, so the reason this is happening in comics is around not just illustration talent, it's also happening around personality. It's not enough to be a good artist. You have to be capable of finding and, I don't know, what's the right word, not enticing your fans to buy your book, but, and that's not the same for every institution either. Although a lot of institutions are built around sales, around merch, around events, that sort of thing. And they're not really institutions, they're entertainment conglomerates. That's the other thing I've noticed. These shows, right? Like this isn't a show. I worked on fucking shows. I worked on shows. Shows have a staff. Shows have a ton of people. Whenever you've got some douchebag doing direct address on YouTube, it's not a show. I don't care how much effort you've put into your lighting and sound, it doesn't matter. You're just one person speaking off the cuff. Even if you plan your shit and write it out, you're still just one guy. You're not an institution. You're just a person out there hustling to win a buck. And that is very different than what I'm doing. This is frustrating about Comicsgate. A lot of these comic book artists are frustrated filmmakers. Why? Don't be that. Film offers you nothing, and it's getting cheaper every day. You can do better with this than they can do with a TV show. This has more potential for you to get your point across and do it well, especially if your art style is good, than anyone can ever do in a TV show. I did storyboards a few times for independent productions and whatnot, and I was good at it because I didn't have to do fine hatching and whatnot. I was doing cartoony characters with expansive expressions, and I was good at that. I was really good at that. And I had a director tell me, this sucks. I can never get my actors to look this good. I can never elicit this level of performance out of my actors. And that's where the storyboards can help. I wasn't doing storyboards at that level where we were giving them to actors and showing them the expressions we wanted them to have, but I was producing that work, and so that's why I love this so much. I'd rather do cartoons than TV. TV has no value anymore, you guys. You're doing it. You're making TV. Hollywood budgets, Stallone said, in Hollywood they don't stab you in the back. They stab you in the chest. They look at you and stab you in the guts. You do not want that to happen to your IP. Think about this. You know, Alex Hormozy, you guys need to find Alex Hormozy. He's really big about business. He's about scaling your business, and he hates taking loans. He does not take loans. He does not borrow money. Robert Kiyosaki says making money by borrowing money is the best way to make money. I think Alex probably does that at this level. Now he's making like $100 million a month or some shit like that, or 10 million or so. He's making an obscene amount of money every month. Now, in that scenario, you can use other people's money to make money, but you don't have to. And it's better not to. It's a lot better with this stuff not to, because if you take someone else's money, they're going to object to something in your work, especially if it's this kind of work. Because if they don't object, they're not doing their job. That's how they're going to feel. So they're going to feel like this is the exact thought process that rich people have. If you, filmmaker, writer, comic book artist, were better at your work, you wouldn't be borrowing my money. The fact that you're borrowing my money means I'm smarter than you, and I have the right and the obligation to give you advice about your work. That's the attitude they have, especially in Hollywood. Especially in Hollywood. Hollywood, the reason Kevin Feige fucked Rob McFarlane, or Rob McFarlane, that's pretty good. The reason he fucked him so hard at the Deadpool party is because they can't do what comic book artists can do. They can't do it. And the actors and the production crew, they adore comic book guys. It's the higher-ups, the management, the administrators, the producers, who are terrified of the comic book medium in general. Comic books can and probably will see a huge resurgence in our lifetime. Everything is getting cheaper. The only thing not really getting cheaper yet is shipping, but that's going to happen. Once we go back to shipping over water instead of shipping with trucks, it's going to become a lot cheaper. Trump is already rolling back some of those legal restrictions. Right now, there are legal restrictions on shipment over water that make it super expensive in America, and that was done deliberately at the behest of the automotive industry, and that is going to get rolled back. We have more rivers in America than any other continent on the planet, and it is, especially North America, way cheaper to ship by water. Now, granted, there's some huge parts of the country that's not going to work for, but watch things change. Watch things change. And comics, everything's getting cheaper. TV's getting cheaper to make. Video's getting cheaper to stream. I think we will see a resurgence in comics. I don't think it's going to be about the individual issues. It's going to be about the products. It's going to be about the merch. When you have a hit title, look, if the comics gate guys, now granted, right now the thing is the campaigns, right? They have to do 70-page books to make a campaign work and put out variant covers and put out extra merch. But imagine when they can do this on a subscription basis, and you don't have to do 22 pages a month. You can do 15. You can do 12. A good 12 pages a month delivered, however you do it, with ads and with humor and a little bit of merch will satisfy the audience. If you can get, right now everyone is their own business. All the artists are their own business. If you can get a group of them together and get an institution, whatever you want to call it, All Caps Comics, Comicsgate, 9 Lives, I don't know what John Malin's name is, whatever you want to call it, if you can create a subscription box where you deliver to customers every month, now that won't work because there will be a ton of people fighting over the pie, there will be people not delivering on time, there will be all sorts of problems, but eventually, that would be the ideal. Like Loot Crate, Loot Crate did that for a while where they were shipping toys and t-shirts and merch. I think they're out of business now. That was really unsustainable. The same idea I'm having for comics right now would be equally unsustainable. What you've got to look for is consistent delivery. Right now, the consistent delivery is YouTube videos. That's how they're meeting their audience consistently. And it's not just weekly, it's daily. Almost daily. Probably 5 times a week. These guys are on each other's shows talking about what they're working on and talking about what they're doing. So don't worry about Hollywood. Don't chase Hollywood. And don't worry about people who betray you. Just keep doing the work. It's all you can do. Don't worry about the money either. I know a lot of you guys have kids, and wives and kids are status obsessed. But once you're doing the work, the status doesn't matter. The status is bullshit. The joy of life comes in doing the work. It comes in riding the skateboard, practicing kung fu, doing the art. I don't need anyone else to tell me my art is good when I look at it and I love it. Now, it would be nice to get money for it. Yes, of course. It would be nice to be rich as Midas. Sure, it would. But at the end of your days, when you're 85, you're going to look back at the stack of books that you've done, not at the stack of money that you've made. It's not money that is the root of evil. It is the love of money that is the root of evil. So being jealous of someone else's super chats is so fucking stupid. Oh my God, that's so petty. That's so petty. Super chats are nothing. That's nickels. I was making 150 grand a year myself. Super chats don't count. Super chats are just super chats, like one guy said, it's the audience's way to be democratic with the mic. Everyone gets a say if they just pitch in a bit. So don't chase Hollywood, chase your work. Chase that ending. Like Shane said last night, you have to, what did he say? Plant, fix, stomp the landing. There's some phrase for stick. You have to stick the landing, gymnastics. You have to stick the landing of your book. You really do. And that's why books like The Tick and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and whatever, The Crow, they all worked because they stuck every element of it. And here's something else I wanted to mention. This is going on a little bit. It's kind of indulgent today. I think I'm going to call our new big sort of, we're not going to do a rip-a-zine, but I wanted to do a zine where you're not telling a complete story. It's just sort of like a catalog of stuff with some humor and some short stories. And we're going to call it Threshold. I love that term because it has a couple different meanings. It's how much you can take, and it's the entryway. And for me, that's what my writing is about. My writing is about that page turn at the bottom of the page. It's about building the tension and getting the audience to see what happens next. That's what I've focused on as a writer. That's what I've developed toward. I can be funny in circumstances with friends. I can come up with jokes, but I'm not a comedy writer. And just not who I am. And so Threshold for me, that's about the little bit of tension before you find out what happens next. The lady or the tiger, right? Which door do you choose? So yeah, remains to be seen whether or not that's enough in my execution. I've taken a long time to get here, and you could argue that the fact that I'm not famous for my novels means I never will be, and that's okay. It doesn't make the novels less quality. I'm still proud of them. So I hope everything is going for you guys. I have not been saying that lately. I hope everything is going well for you. I hope there's no one in your face telling you that you're terrible just because you're white. Although there's a lot of that going on. And don't let people tell you you're terrible for any other reason either. Intention matters. Now, Dan Fraga may say his intentions were to come out and humiliate people and offend them, but the results matter too. See you guys tomorrow.